Good day, everyone. So, for today, we'll be talking about transformation, and one of which is reflection. So, what is reflection? Reflection is isometry. What do you mean by this? Isometry, it is a rigid transformation rigid transformation, um, which means that the size the size and shape of a given figure is equal or congruent after the reflection. Okay, next, in a reflection, the image has opposite orientation. Now, using the illustration here, using this illustration here, we're gonna have a triangle ABC is reflected. Okay, reflected. Now, as you can see, after it was reflected, we have A prime, B prime, and C prime. So this image here is what we call the pre-image, right? Pre-image is the original figure. And this image here is what we call the image. The new figure, right? This is the new figure. Okay, let's go back. Image has opposite orientation. As you can see, the points are in the opposite direction. Okay, A is A prime, B and B prime, C and C prime. Now, in other words, when we say image has opposite orientation, this means that when we are going to reflect this image, this triangle ABC, through or across the line of reflection, this is what we call the line of reflection. Across the line of reflection, we're gonna have its reverse, right? As you can see, triangle ABC, the reverse of the triangle ABC is A prime, B prime is triangle A prime, B prime, and C prime. Okay, I'm so sorry. So that is the meaning why that's the reflection of why that's the image of reflection has opposite orientation. Okay, again, this part here, this image here is what we call the pre-image, which is the original figure, and this here is the resulting or the new figure is what we call the image, and the line, this line here, this broken line is what we call the line of reflection. So this line of reflection acts as a mirror, diba? Is when we are going to look ourselves in front of the mirror, we could see our reflection. So this line here acts as a mirror. So next is a point and its image are equidistant from the line of reflection. Now, let's take for example this image here. This illustration rather. We have point C and its image point C prime. The distance of point C from the line of reflection must be equal to the distance of point C prime from the line of reflection. Okay? Next, when we say reflection, it is the flipping or folding. Therefore, a transformation that uses a line, this line here, which is the line of reflection, that acts as a mirror with an original figure, which is triangle A, B, C, reflected in the line to create a new image, or new figure rather, and that is triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. And that is what we call reflection. So in continuation, there are 3 types of reflection that you need to know about in regards to the ordered variables. So there are 3 rules. The first rule is xy is mapped onto negative x, y. The second rule, xy is mapped onto x, negative y. And the third rule, xy is mapped onto y, rather, is mapped onto y, x. Now, using the illustration here, we have a point I with the coordinates of 3, 5. Now, using the first rule, which is xy is mapped onto negative x, y. Now, what I am going to do is I need to I need to get the opposite sign of the value of x in point I, okay, and copy the value of y. So it became I prime point I prime became the opposite sign of negative, 3, positive 3 is negative 3. Negative 3, copy the value of y, which is 5. Now, since we already have a new coordinate, we need to plot it here. Let us say that this part here is point I prime with coordinate of 3, negative 3 rather, and 5. You can see that. Okay, so using the rule number 1, xy is mapped into negative x, y on y. So we get negative 3, 5 as our I prime, point I prime. Now, this image here passes through the line of reflection. This is its line of reflection. Line of reflection. Since it passes this line here, which is the vertical line, and that is what we call the y axis. Therefore, rule number 1 is a reflection over or across the line y axis. Okay, gets? So the next rule is we have xy is mapped onto x negative y. Now using this point, the same point I with coordinates 3, 5, we need to get the opposite sign of the value of y and copy the value of x. Now this became I prime, second, copy the value of x and the opposite sign of 5 with positive 5, which is negative 5. Now we need to plot it, and it is located here in the fourth quadrant. Okay, let's, for example, this is I second prime 3 negative y. Now this is our line of reflection. This line here, this horizontal line here, this is what we call the line of reflection. Since this line here is the x-axis, therefore rule number 2 is the reflection over or across the line x-axis. Next is the third rule, which is xy is mapped onto yx. As you can see that the x and y are just being switched or flipped, right? So using the point I with vertex of 3, 5, we have it became a point I became 5, 3. Now we need to plot it here 5, 3. Let's say that this is 5, 3 is located here. Now is located here. Now what is its line of reflection? Now to give you a hint, the line of reflection in rule number 3 is a diagonal, right? It is here. It is diagonal. It is a diagonal. The line of reflection in rule number 3 is a diagonal line where the slope is 1 and y-intercept is equal to 0. Therefore, rule number 3 is reflection over or in the line y equals x. So for example, number 1, reflect triangle ABC across the y-axis. Now, using this illustration here, we are already given an image, which is the per image ABC, and all we need to do is to find its vertices, coordinates. So we have table here, pre-image, so point A is the coordinates of point A is we have negative 5 and negative 4. Point B, we have negative 3, negative 1, In point C, we have -3, -4. Okay. So it is reflected across the y-axis. So this, using the rule, xy is mapped into -x, y. We have a prime. We have a prime, 5, -4, b prime, and +3, -1, and c prime, +3, -4. Now, we need to plot these points here to get the image. So, we have A, which is 5, -4, 5, -4. This is A, 5, -4, and B, 3, -1, 3, -1. This is B prime, rather, -1, and C, 3, -4, 3, -4. Okay, we need to connect the dots here. Okay, so this is C prime, 3, -4. Now this image, this figure here, is what we call the image, and this figure here is what we call the pre-image. Now for the second example, using the same rule in the image, reflect triangle ABC across the x-axis. So the line of reflection here is the x-axis. So this is y and this is x, and this part here is what we call line of reflection. Now we need to reflect this to here, right? So the pre-image, we have a table, pre-image x, y, a, -5, -4, b, -3, -1, c, -3, -4. So this is here, is reflected across the x-axis, crossing the image. So the rule in the x-axis says that xy is mapped onto x, -y, right? You could still remember. Now we need to get the image. So a prime is, copy the value of x, which is -5, opposite of -4, which is +4, b prime, -3, +1, c prime, -3, and +4. Now all we need to do is to plot these points here. So we first, a prime, -5, -5, positive 4. So we have here. This is A prime, negative 5, positive 4. B, negative 3, positive 1. B prime, negative 3, positive 1. And C, negative 3, positive 4. Negative 3, positive 4. Now we need to connect these dots here. So this is our image. And now this is our pre-image. So that's it. Okay. That's all for today. I hope you have learned something.